I'm going to start off. Welcome everyone, Ani. And I'm going to talk about our BGIS Friendship Wampum Belt. That's going to be the form of my land acknowledgement today. And the reason I am going to talk about the Wampum Belt, because I am calling from Noelville, Ontario, which is just south of Sudbury. It's just between south of Sudbury and North Bay on the French River. Beautiful area. And the Wampum Belt was created in this area as well. If you're ever in Markham, you will see it in a frame. It's not that big, it's about this big. And I want to just kind of mention the story behind the Friendship Wampum Belt. It was created by a friend of mine, a young, two-spirited Indigenous artist named Connor LaFortune of Doki's First Nation in Ontario. And is inspired by the Wampum Belt and the four colors of the medicine wheel. On the left and right side of the piece, two human beings stand with four-row wampum in between. The four medicine colors represent diversity and friendship between all the different ethnicities: white for European, black for Africa, red for Indigenous, and yellow for Asian. These colors reflect the different backgrounds and nationalities of Canada, all working towards peace and unity, especially during these times. The artwork has one man inverted, so when you examine the piece, one man is upright, the other is upside down. Similarly, the sun is on one side while the moon is on the other. This represents the many dualities of our world: night and day, Western, Indigenous, traditional, modern, among others as well. So if you ever have an opportunity to Google Connor LaFortune of Doki's, he does a lot of other things, inspiring Indigenous youth as well. So I wanted to kick it off for that. We're going to start off with Brian. And
Julie, sorry, yeah? I just want to interrupt. There's a comment in the chat about where each of the businesses that we're showcasing today are located and what areas they service, because I know some people, are on the call from Quebec as well, Atlantic and the West, and they just want to make sure that the businesses are not only based in Ontario or for Aki, like not only in BC.
Yes, so just for everyone, that's a great question for everyone. And Brian and Kyle, you can, they're all both are national. Our doc was the only one, but he didn't respond back to me, and I don't think he's online. So but both Brian and Kyle are national. That's why I focused mostly on that. And Brian's going to kick it off and talk a lot about what we've been working on together with Aki Consulting. Even though located in BC, they can connect you with different Indigenous organizations as well. But I do not want to speak for Brian. So we'll start with Brian and tell us a little bit about Aki Consulting, what you're doing with us, and what you see changes in the marketplace. So just to let you know that Brian can help you out if you're procurement and you have Indigenous procurement, support any of your Indigenous procurement requirements as well. Okay, over to Brian.
Yeah, thank you, Julie and Miigwech, and welcome everybody. I am calling from the traditional territories of the Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Musqueam nations in BC and the Lower Mainland here. And as Julie mentioned, our consulting company, which is only 2 years in the making, is national in scope. We have representation across the country and do provide services, which I'm about to describe. And then I'll get into a little bit about what we're doing with regards to BGIS up to date. And we'll go from there. Julie, I don't know how much time you've given me, and I can talk for a lot, but I don't really want to today and bore a lot of people. But you can just give me a quick estimate of what you're expecting?
15 minutes. And I put Kyle second because I want him to hear some of this information, because this is going to be important for your business too, as well. So 15, 20 minutes.
Okay, fair enough. And And I'll probably only talk 10 and open it up to questions. I think that would probably be more relevant so that this is more dynamic and interactive. I didn't want to do a bunch of slide decks out there. So very much, if you feel comfortable to turn your camera on, that'd be excellent. Otherwise, I'll just jump into it. So, AK Consulting, we started this 2 years ago. My wife and I decided to get out of the federal government after her spending about 22 years in the federal procurement system, the administration system, working for Department of National Defense, PSPC, ISC, Indigenous Service Canada. We've been around a lot. We've been around a lot because I was in the military for the first 27 years of my career in government, where we moved every 3 to 4 years across the country. The last 8 years before getting out of government, I was in the region, BC here, as a regional director with the Canada Energy Regulator, where I was heavily involved in a lot of procurement initiatives, especially when you start talking about Trans Mountain and what was going on that side of the house. There was 129 First Nation communities that we helped oversee on the regulatory side with that project, which brought me into a lot of the procurement issues, the barriers, these type of things that were going on. So my wife, Tanya, and I decided to get out of government and start taking this knowledge, this internal knowledge of government and the complexity of this beast. How do you take that and get it into the hands of those that need it the most? And in our case, we wanted to focus on economic reconciliation and help First Nation businesses get into the federal procurement system. That is one line of operations we have. The second line is an energy side that we won't talk about today. But on the procurement side, we've learned a lot actually being on the other end of things. We understand federal procurement. We understand the set-asides that take place. We understand standing offers, supply arrangements. But one of the biggest challenge a lot of First Nation communities and businesses have is they don't know how to register. They don't have a lot of time and capacity to get into the Indigenous Business Directory. They don't, the security issues that crop up, the whole, who do you even contact? Who are the buyers? It's very broad and generic. And the most forward-facing things that a lot of them see is these big, huge tender documents on Canada Buy. So they don't understand sole sourcing. They don't understand traditional competitive bids. So that's what we decided to do, is help these First Nation businesses, very small businesses, get into the federal procurement system. So we've been doing that for about a year and a half, supporting a number of businesses now. And in there, this is where we met, I believe it was Vanessa first. We started talking, and then Julie, and I've met Wade before. And what we were doing is really trying to not just help them get into the federal procurement system, but onboard them as well to make sure that their I's are dotted, T's are crossed. And it's a complex system. It took about 4 months just for them, for one company to sort itself out in regards to not them sorting themselves out, but them being able to get even the ability to be hired from directly from the federal government. And then through this, through BGIS and the way BGIS operates a lot of the facilities, one of the companies that we've been working with, we went through, how do you get into the BGIS side of the house through a VITA, which was a new system for us. And it was complicated even for me, in the sense that I've been in this world for quite a long time. I couldn't imagine how it was for those for the two brothers that I'm talking about that set up a business about a year or so ago on the plumbing side of the house. So we've had some extremely valuable success stories with regards to how to overcome a lot of these challenges. A lot of this was because of Vanessa and Julie and others spending the time and effort in getting them onboarded so that they can get the not just the standing offers from RP1 or RP4, but just the ability to walk in the front door to be able to do the work. So I want to thank you for that effort, because I don't see that level of effort across all the companies that are out there. One of the things, so out of all of that, we then started working on the construction side of the house. So there are construction pieces that is even more complex than just buying goods and services. The construction side, now we are focused on Indigenous participation plans and supporting the non-Indigenous major construction companies and hiring Indigenous businesses during the various stages of construction projects that are out there. and then hopefully moving them on from that into the O&M stage. I think what I'll talk about right now before I open it up is a little bit about challenges that First Nations have, so that you're aware. I'm not sure how many people are aware, but the Ombuds report, the federal ombudsman gave out a report about a month ago and talked about a list of challenges that they've recognized within the federal government itself, predominantly through PSPC and the in ISK, where there's been double reporting and spend. There have been lack of documentation. There's a number of different things where the federal government's not getting it right. We are assisting in that with talking with PSPC and a number of others because we can bridge the world of the federal government, Indigenous side of the house, and industry now, mostly on the construction side, but again, through BGIS and a few others, where we're trying to remove a lot of these barriers. What are some of them? Well, bonding and surety is a big piece. Security clearances. Some people go, well, I've had an issue when I was a teenager. I'm never going to get a clearance. Well, that's not the case. But it distracts and pushes them off from even trying because they feel they just won't pass the muster. So what we try to do is build these bridges between these three different worlds in order to become almost like a matchmaker and allowing these Indigenous businesses that opportunity to get in there. Another barrier that I see a lot is the fact that these are very small businesses. They can't compete in standing offers and supply arrangements. They won't be a prime contractor because the government never allowed them to set it up to where they can actually build over the next 10, 20, 30 years, generational change. All the rules up to about a number of years ago was you weren't even considered Indigenous businesses if at least 50% of your employees were not Indigenous. Wow. After five to six people, how are you going to have one company that has 50, think of 100 people in one company, which is considered small. 50% of them had to be Indigenous to be considered an Indigenous business. So that was a barrier that was removed a number of years ago. But this then now allows the ability for these Indigenous businesses to get in there, but they're still small. They're still just starting out. So they'll still have to work as a sub trade. So tier 1, tier 2 level of subcontracting is really important in a vehicle and a way for them to get in there so they can start building their capacity, start getting more work, start building their corporation into something where they can eventually become a prime in some of the smaller jobs and then go after some of the bigger ones. So those are some of the quick high-level pieces of barriers, but it really is a matchmaking. It's trying to identify what are the issues and requirements that are needed, marrying up with the capacity that's on the ground that's there, and allowing that time to build these businesses into something that meets everybody's needs. Julie, was there anything else you wanted me to talk about with regards to that, or?
And just to kind of explain, we work with Brian because he's introduced Indigenous vendors to us. He's a great contact if you're looking to understand. If you have vendors, we have our own vendors. And for those non-government procurement experts on the phone, if you have, please reach out to us. If we have a question, like we can use ZB Plumbing. Vanessa has a very strong, and I know Chris is just back from leave. We have lists. Now, Rosalina corporately has lists, but our lists have been vetted. Some of these providers are in Avetta. So, for example, ZB, I think we added singularly to different accounts in Avetta. And I think they're in RP1, RP4, but I'm not sure where else. But it's these are things that we can help understand. But I wanted everybody to understand, and I wanted to start off with Brian because it's a challenge. This is hard work. Ask Vanessa how many years trying to bring in Indigenous vendors, and then they get scared off. Maybe they're added to a rotation list, and then they don't get the work, or they're not available for that work. These are all challenges. But we're, the team, the collective, we are here to help. And, and Brian is working on, helping us understand IPPs on some of the requirements we have on projects, very project specific, where we have Indigenous participation requirements. Not a lot of project folks on that because that's a different meeting. But I just wanted to do that. And I'm going to put a great article around PAIR. And that's a certification we're working on. And I don't know if Michelle is here as well. Maybe she can give an update a little later if she is here. If not, we'll get maybe Vanessa to do a PAIR update. But these are all things that are important. And just for everyone to know, this is becoming a must in our bid development group. We have to do this. We have to provide an IPP. We have to meet targets. It's not a nice to have for a lot of the government procurement. And just, Brian talked about D&D, major potential client outside of the RP1 and RP4 is D&D work. And I don't know if the bid team is here, but that's important to us. So we need to get our ducks in a row if we want to grow our company. And we need to work with partners, Indigenous partners, in order to do that. So any questions for Brian as far as what he sees in the market or anything? I know procurement group, John, you're here. Any questions for Brian?
Thanks, Julie. Nothing so far. Appreciate this. So
go ahead, Marianne. Oh,
hi, name Brian. I work with Kyle at Chippewa Rama First Nation. Just to get clarity on what you do, are you a training organization or are you a partnering organization? And if you're a training organization, how would we access the training to benefit from the experience that you have?
Yeah, so we do offer, and it's very rare, but we do offer workshops on federal procurement, and it's really a grassroots, it's a bottom-up approach. It's meant to give, it's a 2-day course or 2-day workshop. The first day is foundational knowledge with some work that has to be done in the afternoon by each participant. And the next day is to help them with their roadmap, because every company is different. They have different, it may be goods, it may be services, depending on location, what they're trying to sell. And in a system on the second day of having a roadmap and strategy so that they can start going down that path. But that's the only training we actually do. The rest of it is actually partnership, where we talk and we understand what the capacity and interest and skill sets that are already there, and then help the companies, the Indigenous companies, build upon that in order to get in, such as, from we're talking about ZB Plumbing. They're in the Ottawa area. They're a plumbing company. They just started out, but they knew nothing about the federal procurement system, where today, I would say 95% of their work is all federal now, where they've got 3 standing offers in place, 2 of them with BGIS, 1 of them with D&D. And so the idea is for them to be able to access that area and get into it. So it's more of a partnership because every company is very different, but from a training perspective, it's that one workshop, which we don't run frequently because there's so much work to do. And hopefully that answered your question.
It does. And I'm gonna just add on, at the risk of hijacking the section, Julie, I apologize. So Kyle is highly skilled. He's taken Rama Office Interiors from a fledgling company about 4 years ago for about 10 years straight to what it is today, which is a very competitive office interiors company that can bid on very big projects. And Kyle has been successful in landing many. But Kyle only knows what Kyle knows. Example, Kyle reached out to Julie. He's very skilled in terms of outreach and finding people through, I think it was LinkedIn, Julie, that he reached out to you first. Very resourceful. But is there a role for you with us in helping someone who is as skilled, and you'll see Kyle's pitch deck shortly, but to help direct to not so much of a buckshot, although it has been working great, and I can't do anything but commend his work, to something that's more strategic and targeted through your organization or your company.
Short answer is yes. I would have an offline one-on-one conversation and understand these initial. Kyle, have we met before?
Hey, Brian, I don't believe so, but I was really intrigued by your presentation so far, so I think we will have to continue the conversation.
Okay, so sorry, I thought we had. I recognize your company though. Then that's what it is. I wasn't sure there, but Marianne, the short answer is absolutely. I think Kyle and I could have a side conversation afterwards. And the idea here, and this is the way we do it with all the companies out there, is we just need to understand where they want to go and what they want to do. Some companies don't want to work with the federal government or correction services or others out of there. So once we understand where the interest level and targeted approach that they want to take, we can then provide advice and assistance and guidance. And the idea is not for us to be with them forever. The idea is that to help set, in your case, Kyle, set you up for success and getting you down that path and then moving on, because there's so many companies out there that need this type of support. There are non-Indigenous companies that need that support as well, and helping to onboard them. I mean, I think BGIS has done a great job in a lot of areas, but there's not a lot of companies that are doing the same thing that you're doing. They're just at the start state. There are some out there that are doing things, using PAIR as an example of through CCIB that allows a formalized framework to get more Indigenous or diverse businesses into the system. But in the end, it comes down to who's spending time with people like Kyle to get their business to the next level. And what does that next level look like?
Correct.
And it's all about, maybe it's a think tank. And for Place du Portage, we put together a think tank of a few people. I had met the Ontario person who did IPPs, that's Indigenous Participation Plans for the Ontario government. And we had Brian, and we had one of our design folks that we work here with in Sudbury, Cliff. And that's where you might know Kyle from, because I've introduced Cliff and Kyle before. So one of the things we've been working on, and for the procurement team, sometimes it's not our procurement. So this is why it's so important procurement communicate with us. So I spoke to John Downey maybe 2 weeks ago, and I said, can you give me permission to introduce an Indigenous company? We can't use him yet. Can I introduce him to a non-Indigenous one of our non-Indigenous vendors? Okay, he's small. So we did that in the Pacific region, and that worked. By the way, John and Rachel, that worked out well. We got a lot of great interest, because everyone knows that if you're in the government sector, you need to be bringing on Indigenous vendors. So what can we do with our non-Indigenous vendors is a big thing as well. But we're just starting to test that out, and it's looking like it's being successful. So one of the opportunities, Kyle, was to have you and Brian together on the same sort of stage. So we could talk about a little bit about that. And here's my concern. And Vanessa said, Julie, you haven't done a marketplace. And I'd say, well, what's happening? Are we procuring? What are we doing, right? So I thought this was a good time to talk a little bit about many of our different efforts, even if it doesn't include direct procurement. And I'm going to jump. Any other questions for Brian before we jump over to Kyle? Go ahead, Brian.
Can I just say one thing? And I want to talk about, I follow the federal procurement system quite closely from a macro level. But even when you start getting into the non-macro levels, such as the bases, and this is where this is definitely directed to everybody at BGIS, is that there is a massive amount of money that is just starting to get into the pipeline, and it's going to be going for the next 10, 15 years. You're talking about $400 billion over the next 10 to 15 years. I was at a DCC event, which is part of Department of National Defense or construction side, just in Esquimalt, CFB Esquimalt, it's just in Victoria. It's not far away. They're putting about $5 to $7 billion in the next 5 to 7 years, just in upgrades to infrastructure. If you look at the F-35 program and the amount of money that is being spent to upgrade all the infrastructure is happening in the 4 forward operating locations across the Arctic. You look at the training centers in the prairies and that. The impact that this has with BGIS, I know you do facilities management, but they're doing massive constructions on building new training centers, building new housing, new barracks, new mess halls, because they're talking about massively increasing the military to get to that 5% GDP spend that every NATO country has committed to. We have the new SAFE program that's coming in that now we're part of the European procurement strategy, which is another $150 billion that is out there. There's a lot going on, but the infrastructure piece that is being built in Canada is long lasting. It's going to have a major impact with BGIS. And what that means from a federal perspective is the federal government has that 5% Indigenous strategy where they want all, whether it's construction, O&M, all these things, they're looking minimal. That's the floor of 5%. They're not making it right now. So they're putting more effort into that. And I suspect those in the procurement world that deal with this on a daily basis sees this. But this money's coming down. It's going to be spent, and there's going to be these Indigenous participation plans or these 5% procurement strategies, or there are going to be set asides. And where BGIS fits into this is really up to you to figure out. But I'm telling you, the Indigenous element is going to be there from now to the next 15 years in this $500 billion spend that the government's looking at. And thank you very much for the opportunity, Julie, to speak today. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And it was important for us to kind of get a market overview from a procurement perspective. Procurement team, this was important because the way we get there is through procurement. Maybe it's tier 1, maybe it's tier 2. Don't know. John is for RP1 and RP4 has those discussions with our executives as well. So more to come, but I wanted everyone to hear this because procurement is so important. John, I saw you went not on mute. Any questions or any clarifications?
No, thanks, Julie. I was just going to comment on we are always looking for ways to increase that percentage, and it's actually a greater number for us on RP4. So the more the merrier at this point. I'm really my biggest concern, if I can throw it in right now, is Indigenous capacity, and we're finding that some of the bigger Indigenous owned construction companies where it would be easy for us to achieve a higher percentage spend if we could utilize some of the larger companies that are already very busy and they don't even bid on some of our tenders. I think that's an issue for us going forward, and how can we help build capacity in the Indigenous pipeline? Just a comment for discussion purposes.
And that's a good comment. And then we will talk to Rama Office Interiors because they've been around for 10 years and what have they done to build their capacity. And at this point, I'll hand it over to Marianne and Kyle. And Kyle and I are not related. Okay. Go ahead.
Thank you, Julie. And yeah, it was funny. I know we did connect through LinkedIn, so that was great. And certainly, Brian, we will continue the conversation because we'd like to learn more and how we can collaborate. I think that's where it's even certainly collaborations with BGIS, but as Indigenous businesses, how can we best collaborate together as well? So I really appreciate that. And thank you to Julie and Vanessa and Wade for inviting me here today and really sharing more about Rama Office Interiors. Anim Kinawea, Kyle Matthews Dishnakos, Majikning Rama First Nation Donjaba, Mangdodam. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kyle Matthews. I'm a proud band member of the Chippewas of Rama First Nation, and I'm a business development manager in serving our community. And I have prepared a brief presentation that I'm just going to share my screen. And so Rama Office Interiors is it was actually established in 2010. So it's a partnership between the Chippewas of Rama First Nation and POI Business Interiors. So this is actually a community-owned Indigenous business with the profits returning back to the community and really enhancing programs and services within our community. And I just wanted to provide a little bit of context about Rama First Nation. As Julie had mentioned, there was folks from the BGIS team across the nation, and Brian himself is in BC. So Rama First Nation is about 2 hours north of Toronto. We have 2,000 band members, and we're home to Casino Rama, which was built in 1996 and was really the start of an economic development legacy that we've looked to diversify and build on. And we have since added other businesses to our portfolio, including Tim Hortons, Shell Gas Station. Last year, we added Cedar Leaf Capital, which is an investment bank in partnership with Squamish, English River, and Scotiabank. And we've also added Rama Office Interiors. And the reason for Rama First Nation to get involved with business operations and business ownership is really because when we look at the current reality of government transfers, they merely allow us to survive and not thrive. It's really our own source revenues that are generated from our businesses that are really going to shift us from being reliant to self-sufficient and having economic sovereignty. There was actually an AFN report that was done in 2024 highlighting a $350 billion infrastructure gap. And we really identified own source revenues and business operations as really a means to closing that gap for our community and really helping to advance our people and advance the priorities within our nation. Here's some more information about our partner POI. So they have over 65 years of experience. They have operations across the country, and
Sorry, Kyle, I just want to,
Yeah.
sorry, interrupt you. I'm not sure if you know, you're not sharing anything other than the POI, right? There's just the
Oh.
first screen. Because I was
Oh.
wondering, Julie has a copy of your slide. Maybe Julie can share it as you're talking if yours isn't working.
Thank you very much,
Yes,
Vanessa.
there we go.
Can you see
Perfect.
this?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Okay, perfect. Thank you very much, Vanessa. I appreciate that. So yeah, just to confirm and highlight the ventures as mentioned with Cedar Leaf Capital and the Tim Hortons, Ram Office Interiors. Really the reasoning with this, so as mentioned, the relationship was really established in 2010. And 100% of the profits for Rama First Nation are reinvested back into the community. And this really helps in terms of building capacity, building skills, enhancing language and our culture, and really helping to advance our nation and moving from being reliant on government transfers. And really what we've seen with Rama Office Interiors and our ventures has been really an evolving Rama First Nation brand in terms of being that strategic partner, advancing ESG, Indigenous reconciliation goals, diversity, and supplier initiatives, certainly for community benefit. And as on the screen here is a list of some of our clients, including Ontario Power Generation, OECM. We've also done work with the Canada Energy Regulator and Two Row Architect, for example. And I know Julie and I had other conversations. The Two Row Architect is also a BGIS Indigenous supplier as well. So we've worked really closely together. We also pride ourselves in terms of that reinvestment, and where we're seeing the reinvestment actually is the profits from Ram Office Interiors really going to really to launch the Anishinaabe Immersion Program. So this is a great initiative where our youth are fully immersed in Anishinaabe throughout the day, and it's really a great initiative in terms of restoring and promoting our language. We also reinvest for youth and education programs, elder and healthcare services, as well as our community farm. And through this, over the last 16 years, we were able to create meaningful employment opportunities, really empower local talent, and build a model for the next 7 generations. And I think we're seeing that now being replicated as a blueprint in terms of community advancement for the future. Our community farm, and this is really a special place in terms of it's fully funded by profits from Rama Office Interiors. And in addition to being a food sovereign initiative, it's really more about the people and the skills development and the work reintegration and meeting people where they are. And really the farm is an awesome place that really helps people reconnect to really what matters most. And that's really building skills, connecting with each other, and really making them feel like they're providing meaningful contributions to the community. We really see it as a launch pad in terms of building those foundational skills that they can take with them throughout their careers. So that could be working at our Tim Hortons, or working at Ram Office Interiors, or working at Cedar Leaf Capital, our investment bank. So we're seeing really the opportunities to thrive really as a starting point, and really the opportunities are endless. And it's not just marginalized and at risk. There's a lot of high potential members within our nation as well that are receiving the benefits of this. And I would actually mention myself as really a product of the skills development and training. And I couldn't have gotten here on my own. I really have to tip my hat to Marianne Wilsey, who's on the line, and Dan Newman, our partner, that have been incredible mentors throughout the journey as well. And I think that's what we're seeing in regards to the benefits of the partnerships, is not just financial, but I think certainly on the people development and capacity building sides as well. Our solutions. So we offer office furniture solutions, everything from chairs to workstations, collaborative spaces, meeting spaces. We also offer modular interior construction. So it could be anything from glass walls, boardroom walls, private offices, interior finishing, including wall finishes, as well as flooring. And then AV and the audio visual for meeting spaces, smart boards, projectors. And then we also offer relocation services. So our services really help in terms of if offices are looking to amalgamate together, or moving and shifting offices, or decommissioning existing office spaces, or lease renewals. And we also do offer access to our artisans, and a great group of artisans that really create a genuine feeling to a space. So if there's any folks within BGIS and your partners that are looking for Indigenous art, we would certainly love to help with that as well. And recently, late last year, Rama Office Interiors was awarded an OECM Master Service Agreement for till 2030. And we're also an Indigenous qualified supplier. And this is Rama Office Interiors is the only organization actually that has both. So the MSA for the furniture, as well as being a qualified Indigenous supplier. In addition to the OECM agreements, we also have 2 supply arrangements with the federal government. One is for workspaces and one is for seating. I wanted to highlight this was such a distinct and high-profile project with OPG, Ontario Power Generation. And this was a mega project that consisted of over 1,700 workstations, and really a long-standing partnership that started 3 to 4 years ago. And it really started from one chair. And I think that's where Ram Office Interiors, we could certainly help if you're looking for one chair, or in this case, over 2,000 and workstations, where our partnership really started as a couple POs here and there. And then it evolved after about a year. We have a MSA with Ontario Power Generation for POs under 500K. So they didn't have to go to bid, and they would flow through Ram Office Interiors for their furniture and moving solution needs. And after that, because we wanted to demonstrate our capacity and build trust and build the relationship. We were then invited to a RFP to actually outfit their CHQ, their corporate headquarters, which was previously the General Motors headquarters in Oshawa near the lake. And it was a massive building. It was 350,000 square feet. And it was an 8-figure deal that we did. And it was such a robust project that we had weekly touch point meetings. We had a lot of site visits. We had Gantt charts developed, a lot of discussions with the GC in terms of making sure everything was aligned, and project deliverables and timelines and budgets were all within the plan. So it was really an exciting project, but I think it speaks to, I know what John had mentioned about the capacity side. I mean, depending on the type and scale of project, I think this speaks to a high level project that was completed successfully, and OPG continues to provide us orders and POs, and really use this space as really a showcase, I think, for what an Indigenous business could do. So we really look to engage with BGIS in the same capacity, and have them feel good about the suppliers, especially the Indigenous suppliers that they're working with. We do have a robust team in terms of executive sponsors, implementation, installers, support, planners, and designers. And we really view our relationship with BGIS as one that's growing, and we appreciate really what BGIS has been doing too in terms of Julie, Vanessa, and Wade with their team. And BGIS is really a champion in Indigenous procurement. And I think a lot of other organizations are following the lead of BGIS and looking what BGIS is doing. So I just want to acknowledge and shout out to Julie, Vanessa, and Wade for their contributions and really making a difference. And it's with that where we really invite BGIS and your partners to really come along on the journey with Rama Office Interiors and really provide a meaningful impact to the community, and especially the Indigenous community, in terms of supporting and providing for the next generation. So with that, I wanted to say miigwech. I really appreciate everyone's time today and the opportunity to share more about Rama Office Interiors and Rama First Nation. And with that, I'll open it to any questions or comments or anything.
Thank you very much. I'll put also Brian's contact email in there as well. I'm just not that quick, okay? And I'll put it in there. And any questions for Kyle? Well, most of you know Casino Rama. Maybe you don't. It's not too far from my community when I'm in Toronto, which is like at Lake Simcoe. And, you know, great opportunity for us to work in community as well. In the future, I have aspirations of, oh, thank you, Brian, you know, doing more community work with you. Marianne, anything to add to that? Like, your community is close to our corporate head office, close to us. And, you know, anything about the community that you've seen with the work you've been doing in the last 10 years?
So I will say in the first probably 6 years, we were getting our feet wet. We were building a relationship with POI. POI is a company that is privately owned, and it reflects Jonas, the owner's integrity, and it was that brought the two together. Dan Newman, who passed recently, introduced us to Professional Office Interiors, POI. And with a shared vision, we birthed Rama Office Interiors. Kyle has been with Rama Office Interiors for the 6 or 7 years he's been with the nation, but it has really been in the last 3 years that his skill and his understanding of the industry and his passion for what Rama Office Interiors has done for our community has really allowed the partnership to flourish. It is more than just selling furniture. We are building careers, we're building skills, and we're building professional development skills across. And that, Brian, is why I asked the question of you, because we're in the early stages of adding another person to Rama Office Interiors. And yes, Kyle and I can teach them everything we know, but we have learned that when you, and is our Indigenous way, that when we send our young out into the world to get skills and bring them back, that we have more skills. We don't just want to share our own skills. And that's what you see in Kyle in that presentation you just watched. He was very generous to comment and to give a nod to me. But that really is the foundational values that we have here in the community. And he went to POI and he engaged with their designers, engaged with their professionals, engaged with their leadership and ownership group, and he brought those skills back. And what you see is a young Rama First Nation professional who is, I would say, outskilled to many in the industry. In fact, when we first landed the OPG large contract, the person or the decider of the contract pulled me aside and was very candid that the other two organizations that we were up against in the final strokes were much bigger. There was a higher confidence that they could deliver. And I actually thought, and I did say this to Kyle, I think he was letting me down. He was telling me how this is the company and the company values and what we do at the community. No one person is putting a pool in when you buy from Rama Office Interiors. We're enhancing the quality of life of our elders, our youth, and our community. We are doing things that will extend the spirit of who we are, both in language and culture. But he said, I'm tasked with making sure this project gets done. It's a tight timeline. It's a big project. So they went away and Kyle had several other meetings with them. And they took a leap of faith with us because what we communicated to them and how we communicate the importance of the investment in us and the legacy advantage going forward. Bonnie Go from OPG said, basically, the short word is, we're going to give you a shot. Do not make me regret this. And we stayed connected to every step of the way. And this is where I will say Kyle's nod to me comes, not in preparing his pitch deck, but staying connected every step of the way. Because in my former life, I was in gaming for 25 years and every minute and every penny counts. So that's probably where my game was best, is making sure that we didn't miss anything. And if anything waffled, asking the right questions of the right people, but getting the message out, representing our community was 100% Kyle, but it was Kyle through the eyes of a broader world that he brought home to us.
Thank you. A very powerful story. And, you know, Marianne, I asked you the question because as many of us are procurement experts, it sometimes goes beyond procurement. What are the rules of procurement? Do we need to connect? And Vanessa, I don't want to, like, for you, Wade, Chris, and I, we're always about building relationships, right? And connecting those relationships. And we ourselves are trying to build our bench strength. So I'm going to jump to recruitment and Indigenous team members as well. We have Steve Boissonneau, who leads our tech services team on the phone as well. We're actively hiring tech services. He has the highest Indigenous participation rate for our employee team in the country. So kudos to Steve because he makes the effort, okay? And with his tech services, also geography-wise, he's Northern Ontario, bigger pool to recruit from. But I don't know, Steve, I don't want to put you on the spot, but his team with tech services and the growing of his team is becoming very important. So we're actively looking for Northern Ontario techs. Okay, and we call it Pathway to Trades. Any comments, Steve, if you are available? Oh, there we go.
Sure. Yeah. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining the call. As Julie said, we're recruiting. We're looking for people to join BGIS to get into the trades. There is an extreme shortage on trades. There has been for years. We also want to get young people, as Kyle was mentioning, and and as where is Marianne, bringing that knowledge back, getting people trained, getting the young invested into the trades. There's very good money in the trades, and you're being paid while you're getting trained, as we all know. We're recruiting all over Ontario, all over Canada. If anybody has any interest from anyone of any age, for that matter, we're hiring all types of tradespeople, electrical, HVAC, plumbing, general techs, all over the place. Doesn't have to be Northern Ontario. Kyle, I live just south of you. My son lives in Orillia. They were born in Orillia, so I know the area very well. We have the OPP building there, Hydro One, a lot of facilities right in Orillia. If there's a lot of interest in somebody in Rama, that'd be great to show some interest from the youth. Pop me a message. Happy to direct a resume to an individual on our side, a hiring manager for that matter. Anybody in Ontario, if you have a resume, anybody across Canada on the call for that matter. So happy to pass it along. I've been with BGIS for 15 years, so I know where to send those resumes. It might even be from my own area. So I'll be a little selfish on that. So.
And again, thank you very much. I know we had one of our team members say, "Oh, my son's looking," or "My daughter's looking," and I gave a great presentation with Keepers of the Circle yesterday that supports young Indigenous women, not necessarily young, because they're some of them are changing careers. So huge interest. I'm waiting for the resumes, Steve, but over to Kyle.
Yeah, thanks, Julie. And miigwech, Steve, I appreciate that. And I really love what you were saying about those opportunities and the training and the skills development. And I think that's where really this is beyond procurement, right? I think this is really reaching into communities. This is changing the lives of people. And if maybe procurement's the conduit to make the initial connections, and that's even better. So I would be happy to connect you with our HR team as well. So if there are postings or there's opportunities or programs or anything like that, I would love to connect you directly to our HR team so that we could broadcast that and really share and showcase those opportunities. So, and I really see as, like Marianne had mentioned, beyond office furniture, I think there's a lot of other potential and opportunities and impact that we can make across organizations and communities. So, miigwech.
Thank you. Perfect. Miigwech.
Wade?
Just want to thank both Kyle and Brian for the kind words they shared, and the fact that they really demonstrated that when we spend with an Indigenous company, the monies actually are more than just going profits through the owners and into the community. They're actually helping to build community capacity in many different ways, and that's one of the things we're really trying to find ways to demonstrate. Too often, procurement falls into the lowest compliant bid because it's the easiest thing to demonstrate and the most definitive thing to be able to demonstrate. Best value is very difficult to demonstrate. And these are examples of what best value truly is. I also appreciate Brian's sharing his knowledge around procurement and that need to disseminate that information and to work together. I know that when Vanessa and Chris and I are attending the various conferences, we keep hearing and we say to ourselves that, it's about the Indigenous professionals supporting each other. Often we do work alone, even though we have a small team here. We spend a lot of time alone, and sometimes it is kind of an environment where you think you're working on your own. And I'm sure that Kyle and Brian suffer from this as well, but you really do need to reach out to each other and support each other as you go through this. We still have a lot of lateral violence in our communities, and I think this is a real great example of when we work together, how much stronger it becomes. And that's what I see as the future for business as we move forward. Thanks.
Thank you. It's a powerful story. Kyle, I sat in your chair for BGIS on business development at your age. And back then, we were maybe 100 people. So we're now 10,000. So you can achieve great things. Okay, and just a shout out, I know it's on the hour and we have to end. I know Brandy Lavoie is on. We're looking for people in North Bay. If you know anybody, we have like 5 positions for North Bay Hospital. We need people. I'm in community. I'm asking Brandy. Nothing much is happening. So
it's a lot of trades roles that we're looking for in North Bay, but we're looking for many roles across the country, not just in North Bay, and all different things, not just trades, but admin roles, IT roles, accounting roles, you name it. We're looking for everything across the country.
and I'll say
Can-
Aunt
can I-
Julie Matthews, if you have people, friends who want an introduction, feel free to reach out to me. I will make the introduction with Brandy and all the whole recruitment team. Brian?
I was just wondering, is there a list or something you can give us? Because we're talking with employment services because under procurement, it's not just about hiring businesses. It's that capacity building, it's HR. There's a whole host of things that happen. And by having these lists and availability, when we run into people, I have no problem saying, hey, have you looked at this list? Have you talked with anybody out there? So if you're doing it across Canada, us having that information is really useful to pass it on to others, so we can actually be a force multiplier and all of us helping build that capacity across the nation.
We do have lists, but at any given week, there's at least 300 jobs posted. So we always even just tell people, go on to BGIS careers.
And we have
Recordings.
posters that you can post. Same, Marianne, if you can post in community, we do them. I'll work with Abigail to kind of get some posters out that are very specific, and we try to narrow it down. Okay, so we'll do that for you. We haven't refreshed those posters in a while, Brandy. We use search patterns rather than exact jobs for the QR codes. Okay, so it just helps them.
And maybe even Kyle, I know you were saying you'd be able to connect us with your community. Even if you have an upcoming job fair, if you could let us know if there's anything like that BGIS could have a booth at, that would be wonderful as well.
Sounds good, Vanessa.
I would also suggest if you do have internships, in particular summer internships for students across Canada, we have members that go to school in Lower Mainland and at UBC and SFU and at Dalhousie on the other side of the country. So if you do have internships that would be appropriate, we are happy to share those with our post-secondary school coordinator to get them out.
Thank you. We'll take you up on that. We are full this year, but I'm going to start recruiting in October, November, because we have to fill them by January so we can get security clearances. So we'll be in touch, Marianne, and you and I have chatted quickly about that, but I haven't been able to kind of get my feet under me on that. So any other questions? I see some people in the chat. I'm just gonna see. Oh, here's the link, careers. Yeah, welcome interns. And thank you everyone for your time. More to come. We are going to start, we're booking our Indigenous History Month date, time to be determined. Everyone will be invited to that Indigenous History Month as well. We're looking at the last week of June, a time to celebrate Indigenous culture, languages, and different things. We're still deciding on the agenda. Okay, so thank you, everyone. Miigwech. Thank you, everyone. Any closing remarks? I don't know if Wade's gone. Vanessa?
Again, Miigwech to everybody that was able to attend, and especially our special guests for presenting as well. Great to see everyone.
And interns, don't be shy. We'll be reaching out. I've been really busy to get in touch with you. More to come. Looking forward to working with everyone. Thank you, everyone.